What is up, y'all? It's your girl Alina, your friendly neighborhood astrologer and holistic health lover, here for our bi-weekly energy readings. This one will be about the upcoming Capricorn new moon. And in this video, we'll talk about what this final lunation, this final new moon of 2022 will bring in for us, what this winter solstice, the start of Capricorn and winter season, will bring for us. And of course, at the end, I'll offer some custom writing prompts to align with it all. We also got Auralign Astrology Planner inventory in. Woo! So any of y'all who pre-ordered, be sure to look out for tracking information because your orders will be shipping now. If you're interested in getting your Auralign Astrology Planner before Christmas or the new year, then be sure to order yours soon. And I'm super excited to invite all of y'all to a live stream here on my channel on Wednesday, December 28th, where we will be filling out our Auralign Astrology Planners together, all of the new year intention settings. We'll do a live Q&A, share what our new year intentions are, and so much more. So I would love to have you there. Okay, let's start this new moon energy check. As many of y'all already know, new moons mark the beginning of a new lunar cycle, where we see that the light is virtually non-existent on the moon's surface. New moons are seen as a time for rest, reflection, and setting intentions for the new lunar cycle ahead, not necessarily being in action. It's a perfect time for doing new moon rituals, where you sit down and write out what you'd like to manifest or bring into creation, or things that you are already working on that you would like to continue doing so. And just as we see that the light builds on the moon, leading all the way up to its energetic light peak at the full moon, so too can the momentum around the intentions that you set at this time build. Now, the nature of a Capricorn new moon is very feminine and grounding. It makes it a lot easier for us to find structure, consistency, and order. With this type of lunation, you get a lot of energetic support when it comes to setting goals, planning for the future, and incorporating more discipline in your life. But I do feel called to remind y'all that we are in the dead of winter and not to get pulled by, a lot of our Western culture of like being in action, starting resolutions, and actually like implementing these goals that we set. There's a distinction here between actually planning, reviewing, reflecting, and resting, and actually being in action. And as many of y'all already know, the real new year is the zodiac new year at the beginning of spring, at the spring equinox. So for anyone who needed to hear that, I hope that relieves a little bit of pressure. But with that said, Capricorn lunations are a beautiful time for getting clarity about what actually deserves your attention and consolidating what's draining you. Speaking of which, let's dive into the top transits surrounding this new moon. First one being that we see the winter solstice happening on the 21st, which also marks the beginning of Capricorn and winter season. So like mentioned before, don't let this very Eurocentric, Gregorian calendar focused culture pressure you to be in action and to have all these resolutions that you need to immediately begin at the new year. While we do see that this time is astrologically, energetically supported to have clarity around setting intentions, and that can absolutely be used for getting clear on what we want to show up as for the new year, there's a distinction there between planning and being in action. The winter season in the Northern Hemisphere has historically been one that has drawn global communities towards one another, creating community, gathering to express gratitude, share resources, and enjoy stillness. When we observe and look to align with the patterns of nature that surround us here in the Northern Hemisphere, we will see that so many mammals go into hibernation. They rest. When we see the grass, the trees, the plants, they are in a state of stillness. They have drawn a lot of their energy from the leaves, from flowers, from pollinating down into the roots to be grounded for the winter period. The winter solstice also marks the longest night and shortest day of the year. And moving from that, we see that nights shorten and days get longer. And so in the winter time, spiritually, it is often encouraged in many communities to focus more on our spiritual and dream endeavors. Now, I expand on this in the Auralign Astrology Planner in the seasonal guide section. So if you're interested, be sure to dive into that. Now, Capricorn season brings in energetic support relative to structure, duty, authority, and institutions. Now, Capricorns, y'all can comment down below about this. While Capricorns are seen as the kind of workhorse of the zodiac wheels, I really do feel like Capricorn season, especially being in wintertime here in the Northern Hemisphere, really helps us to prioritize what matters. So yes, we might need to do some work. We might need to really utilize our focus and energy towards something, bringing in our confidence. But during this winter season, this time where nature is really energetically calling us to rest and reflect, I think that Capricorn season is actually very conducive to that, in that it helps us to prioritize what actually matters and let go of all the fluff, let go of all the other things, and consolidate the stuff that we can finally see more clearly is actually draining our energy and isn't really moving the needle where we would like it to be. Next up, we see Mercury, which is currently in its shadow period leading up to its upcoming retrograde, which will happen in January, will be sextiling with Neptune. All of my artists looking for more creative outlets and perspectives, and all of my lovers and people looking to just have deeper, more intimate connections, this transit is for you. With this transit coming into play during this lunation, it makes very conducive and easy flowing energy relative to things like creative outlets, communicating, having deeper rooted connections, and receiving more spiritual downloads and insights, whether that be through dreams, meditation, or divination mediums like through tarot or interacting with spirit guides. This type of transit around this lunation will make it a lot easier for us to tap into our imaginations, our intuitive abilities, and connect with one another on a deeper level. Now, for any of y'all who are listening to anything that I brought up so far about chilling out during the winter and thought, you know what, I'm gonna keep going, this transit is for you. We see that the sun and moon will be squaring off with Jupiter. And when we see a transit like this, we can often feel called and more motivated to kind of be in action, which for some, depending on the placement of this new moon and these transits on your charts, can be fine and conducive. When we see that there is a square, these roadblock type of aspects between our inner and outer world, that being represented and impacted by the sun and the moon, and Jupiter, this very expansive planet that brings in luck and motivation to broaden our horizons, we can often see sometimes misconceptions or false flags relative to wanting to do more and put in more work. And oftentimes with this type of transit, it can lead to overworking ourselves and being burnt out. And so one of the lessons during this lunation with this type of transit is, again, we're seeing it from many signs, to slow down. If you really feel called to bring in more energy into a certain part of your life, feel free to do that if that feels aligned, but it can be very conducive to focus more so on planning, focus more so on the power of reflecting on this past year, what worked and what didn't work. That way, we aren't partially blindly going into it, constantly being in action. I think that's where a lot of us can falter sometimes, is that we are constantly in work mode. Our world, our culture, our society is constantly pushing us to work, and not just sit down and actually reflect upon, did this method even work to begin with? Like, am I actually working harder because what I'm doing isn't working? So for any of y'all who needed to hear that, the trick with this type of transit is to not spread yourself too thin and be cognizant of the reality of burnout and how you can prevent that for yourself. And finally, another transit for the lovebirds, or anyone who's looking to just have more connections, whether that is romantic or platonic. We see that Venus is trining with Uranus. Now, this transit is really supportive of loving connections, intimate interactions, and socialization. You actually might feel called to try something new, maybe a new hobby, a new interest, or if you are looking to go on dates or are in a pre-existing relationship, trying new things, new activities, new approaches are very conducive during this time. By the way, if what I've been talking about resonates with you, if you like this type of content, then be sure to subscribe, because I do energy check-ins in alignment with these lunations, the full and new moon, every few weeks. All right, next up, let's dive into collective perspective. So for any of y'all who didn't already know, this is a new segment that I introduced where I offer some ways that we can connect with our community and support collective elevation of our communities. Because as mentioned before, I feel like a lot of modern day, more new age spirituality and astrology is very focused on the me, and not as much as the collective. And as we are doing our own inner work, it actually really equips us to go out and help our collective community in the process. So the first collective perspective I feel called to share is call your friends and loved ones. And you know who I'm talking about, calling that one aunt, that one uncle, that one college friend, that one old coworker. And I feel called to bring this up because we're living through such an era of peak isolation. So many of us are already overworked. We often pacify ourselves and supplement what would be face-to-face or call interactions with social media or streaming services. And a lot of people, especially during the holidays, but in general, suffer in silence and they don't always open up about what they might be going through. And so the smallest thing, literally just a call to check in, to express that you appreciate their presence, or even straight up ask them, how can I support you? What have you been up to? I feel like sometimes we have no idea what a ripple effect that can create in somebody's life. I feel like there are so many trendy while also needed ways to help the community, but there are so many pre-existing staples all around us, including blood donation locations. And finally, I want to share with y'all why we donate blood and the benefits of it. So I actually wrote it down. Your blood donations are used for patients in need of surgery, cancer treatments, and transfusions for blood loss from traumatic injuries. And I'm sure, as many of y'all know, in the holidays, there's a peak in travel, which can cause a peak in accidents, unfortunately. And giving blood directly impacts your community on one of the most intimate and personal ways. Oftentimes, the blood that you donate is given to people in your city and county where you donated it. All right, next up, let's dive into ways to align with this lunar energy in terms of your new moon ritual. So for this final new moon of 2022, going into 2023, the final sort of time that we can really set a big intention, we're being helped by the energy of Capricorn. So it will be very energetically supported to set intentions within the realms that Capricorn impacts in our lives. So that includes creating more structure, consistency, discipline, and probably most importantly, journaling about and setting the intention to become crystal clear on what truly deserves your energy the most. All right, next up, let's dive into these new moon writing prompts. For this video, I think I'm just going to read them out, but if you have your Auralign astrology planner, be sure to flip to the dedicated new moon journal prompt section for the month of December, and we can journal together. What do you feel deserves your energy the most moving into this new lunar cycle and new year? What has consistency looked like for you in the past? How are you nourishing yourself this winter season? And moving into this new lunar cycle, do you have any new intentions or goals? These can be things like new or pre-existing intentions, or aligning with things like rest, personal or professional endeavors. I'm gonna go ahead and pin these writing prompts in the comment section. All right, y'all, if you made it this far in the video, please comment 3 pen emojis because we are writing out and getting clear on what deserves our energy the most for the new year. And comment down below if you're coming to the live stream on December 28th. It is completely free and we will be doing journal prompts together, getting ready for the new year, setting intentions, reflecting together, sharing our intentions, getting motivated. And if you have your Auralign astrology planner for 2023, which you can order right now and it will actually ship to you, we will basically be filling out the first part of the planner together, setting our intentions and filling it out properly together. There'll be Q&As and so much more. So again, that's going to be happening on Wednesday, December 28th here on this channel. It'll be a live stream, and if you want to be notified for it, hit that notification bell. And you can also sign up to get email notifications where I linked it in the video description. You can also check it out by scanning the QR code, which is up here. And finally, if you still need a planner for the new year, the Auralign planner is still on sale. But with that said, I'll leave you with my favorite quote, and that is, be gentle with yourself, because life is about the journey, not the destination. All right, peace, y'all.